Here is a scene you know all too well. It's 3 p.m., you're at your desk or just got home, your energy is tanking, and you need a little something. You grab that familiar foil wrapper, tear it open, and take that first, sweet, soft bite. Maybe it's a lunchbox classic from your childhood. Maybe it's the brand you trust for your own kids. You feel that quick hit of satisfaction. But let me ask you something that's going to ruin your afternoon. When was the last time you actually read the paragraph of microprint on the back of that shiny wrapper? Because if you do, you might find that the cream filling has never seen a cow. The chocolate coating isn't legally allowed to be called chocolate, and that little cake you just swallowed contains ingredients engineered to survive an industrial warehouse for months, not to nourish your body. You are not eating food. You are eating a masterpiece of private equity cost optimization. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what I mean. I'll show you the 3-letter word on the package that proves you're eating cheap vegetable oil instead of cocoa. You'll find out which trusted American brand has a 25-line ingredient list and the shocking truth about what those extra ingredients are actually there to do. Hint: it's not for you. We'll even uncover the laboratory data showing why two popular brands on the same Walmart shelf are virtually identical inside, despite one costing $1 more. But most importantly, I promise you this, near the end, I will prove that a better choice with whole food ingredients and zero industrial preservatives is sitting on the exact same supermarket shelf at the exact same price point in stores like Target, Costco, and Kroger. But first, we need a little educational foundation because the entire $500 billion snack industry is betting you won't look past the packaging. Before we name and shame, you have to understand how these factories, let's not call them bakeries, actually construct a snack cake. Think of it like building a house. A quality cake should be built with real wood. Flour, eggs, sugar, butter. These are ingredients that eventually decay, which is why real food tastes good and doesn't last forever. The industry, however, doesn't build with wood. They build with PVC pipe and synthetic composites designed to minimize maintenance, shelf life, and cost. Every extra ingredient on that label exists for one of 3 reasons, none of which help you. First, they replace real expensive ingredients. If you remove dairy fat from the cream, it has no flavor and a weird texture. So you must add artificial flavoring and chemical thickeners like modified cornstarch or polysorbate 60 to recreate the illusion of creaminess. Second, they buy the manufacturer time. Baking takes time. Chemical processing is instant. If a product needs to survive transportation across 48 states and months on a storage pallet, it requires a massive dose of synthetic preservatives like potassium sorbate, sodium propionate, or calcium carbonate. Real food can't do that. Chemicals can. Third, the final secret ingredient is private equity. When a major brand is bought by an investment firm, the first thing that changes isn't the packaging, it's the recipe. They optimize. They find a chemical that costs 2 cents less per pound and swap it in. Over 10 years after 3 different acquisitions, that beloved product has 37 ingredients, and the original recipe is just a memory. Now that you know how the game is rigged, let's look at the brands who play it best. Let's start with the ultimate American icon, the product that literally everyone associates with lunchbox nostalgia and nuclear fallout survival jokes, the Hostess Twinkie. In 1930, a baker in Chicago filled a small sponge cake with real banana cream and sold it for a nickel. It had 5 simple ingredients, it was fresh, and it was made in a real bakery. Fast forward to 2026, and that exact same cake has 37 ingredients, and Hostess has been tossed around through bankruptcy, 2 private equity firms, and is now owned by the massive corporation that makes Folgers coffee and Jif peanut butter. I tore open a wrapper at my desk and took a bite. It's still soft, it's still incredibly sweet, and it delivers that exact flavor you remember from childhood. But where does that flavor actually come from? When you flip it over and read the label, sugar is first, followed by bleached flour, corn syrup, and hydrogenated tallow. That recipe radically changed after Hostess went bankrupt in 2012, when the new owners shut down the old bakeries and reopened optimized factories designed for maximum shelf life, not taste. You've heard the urban legend that Twinkies last forever. The actual shelf life is about 45 days. But replacing real dairy cream with vegetable shortening filling creates the mental perception that this thing cannot go bad. Two Twinkies contain roughly the same amount of sugar as a full can of soda, which is worth keeping in mind if you track your daily intake. Here's what I call the squeeze test. Press that cream filling between your fingers. Cream from real dairy is slightly yellow, soft, and has a distinct milky aroma. Filling made from vegetable shortening is bright white, completely odorless, and feels heavy and waxy. If the filling has no dairy smell, it has never been anywhere near a cow. Twinkies still taste good in their own cheap, nostalgic way, costing about 50 cents each, but that familiar flavor is now a product of private equity optimization rather than a baker's craft. If you grew up in the 90s, there is a very good chance that this next one was the first thing you reached for when you opened your school lunchbox. Little Debbie Cosmic Brownies. Those little rainbow candy chips on top are legendary, and while McKee Foods, the family-owned Tennessee company behind Little Debbie, announced they are removing all artificial food dyes by 2027, that cosmetic change is the least important part of the story. I took a bite of one, and it's exactly what memories taste like. Dense, incredibly sweet, and super sticky. But then I looked deeper into the laboratory data and chemical makeup. Cosmic Brownies contain TBHQ, a synthetic preservative that stands for tertiary butyl hydroquinone. The European Food Safety Authority has set much tighter restrictions on this compound than our own FDA due to studies on long-term cellular impact. When you pair that with high fructose corn syrup, enriched bleached flour, and heavy soybean oil, you realize the dye removal is just a marketing distraction. The deeper industrial ingredients stay totally untouched. Let's do a quick count. The ingredient list on Cosmic Brownies runs over 25 lines. A brownie you bake at home needs 5 things: flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and cocoa. If a product's ingredient list runs longer than a standard recipe card, it was designed for factory efficiency, not for a human kitchen. The texture is admittedly well done for a budget snack, and McKee Foods deserves credit for staying family-owned instead of selling out to Wall Street firms. But changing what is visible while keeping what is invisible is a toxic corporate pattern. If you already feel like running to check your own pantry right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because the naming games get even harsher from here. Take a look at a Hostess cupcake and tell me what you notice first. It's that glossy chocolate coating, the iconic white squiggle across the top, and the perfect loop of cream when you bite inside. Everything about this product is designed to tell your eyes a story of high quality. But what the nutritional label tells you is a completely different story. I bit into one and it delivered that exact sweet, familiar experience I expected. Then I flipped it over. Sugar is listed as the very first ingredient. Not flour, not eggs, not butter. In food labeling law, ingredients must be listed in descending order by weight. That means there is more literal sugar by weight than any other single component in the entire cupcake, including the actual cake itself. 2 of these cupcakes put roughly 3 teaspoons of added sugar into your system, which is close to a third of the daily recommended limit for an adult watching their health. The entire foundation of this product is sweetener, not baked goods. Hostess changed hands 3 times in the last decade, and each ownership change adjusted the recipe to cut production costs, while the visual design kept getting sharper. The visual ratio is executed beautifully, but the massive gap between what the cupcake looks like and what the ingredient list says has widened with every corporate restructuring. If sugar appears before flour on any baked product, you aren't buying a baked good. You're buying a solidified brick of sweetener. And that brings us to the missing letter test, which you can see perfectly on Little Debbie Swiss rolls. A real Swiss roll starts with sponge cake batter, spread thin, layered with fresh cream, rolled carefully by hand, and chilled. This factory version has never been near a rolling pin. I took a bite and noticed the white cream and soft cake surrounded by what looks like a chocolate coating. But if you look at the cardboard box very carefully, it doesn't say chocolate. It says chocolatey coating. That single letter Y changes everything. Food and Drug Administration's labeling laws are very strict. If a coating uses real cocoa butter, the package can legally say chocolate. If it swaps that cocoa butter for cheap vegetable oil or palm oil, it must say chocolatey or chocolate flavored. When you see that Y, you know a real ingredient was swapped for a cheap substitute to save the company millions. The palm oil used here adds significant saturated fat, meaning just 2 Swiss rolls contribute roughly a quarter of your daily saturated fat limit. The word Swiss is just a marketing illusion for an American industrial product. But here is the final, most shocking trick on the supermarket shelf, the store brand illusion. If you walk down the snack aisle at Walmart, you'll see 2 boxes sitting right next to each other. One says Little Debbie Swiss Rolls, and the other says Great Value Swiss Rolls. The price difference is an entire dollar, but if you turn them over, the ingredient lists are almost completely identical. I bought both, set them side by side, and tasted them. The flavor difference was practically non-existent. The Great Value version had a slightly thinner coating, but in a blind taste test, you couldn't tell them apart. They used the exact same corn syrup, same bleached flour, same soybean oil, and same preservatives. Why? Because many store-brand snack cakes are manufactured by the exact same third-party industrial bakeries using the exact same base formula. The brand name on the packaging is the entire markup, not a quality difference. You are paying an extra dollar to buy a corporate logo, proving that Great Value is just the honest version of what the snack aisle already is. A shelf full of different wrappers wrapped around the exact same cheap chemical recipe. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We've spent enough time wading through the swamp of private equity cost cutting, missing letters, and chemical preservatives designed to keep cakes alive longer than the plastic wrappers they sit in. It's time for the tonal shift. Let's talk about the brands that actually respect your body and your taste buds, proving that you don't have to completely abandon convenience just because you want real food. The first recommended product on our list comes from the exact same company that manufactures the cosmic brownies and Swiss rolls we just tore apart. And it's made in the exact same factory in Collegedale, Tennessee. It's the Little Debbie Oatmeal Creme Pie. Now, let's be perfectly clear. This is not health food by any standard, but within the mass market snack cake category, it represents a completely different philosophy of product architecture. While 5 separate brands on that shelf start their ingredient lists with sugar or enriched bleached flour, this classic cookie starts with real whole grain oats listed as the very first ingredient. That single structural decision changes everything. I took a bite, and the oatmeal cookie has a genuine, dense chewiness that sponge cake-based products cannot replicate with modified cornstarch or chemical thickeners. The cream filling is incredibly sweet, but because it's paired with natural oat flavor rather than artificial chocolate flavorings, the entire taste profile is balanced. Because the primary ingredient is real oats, this snack brings genuine dietary fiber to the table, something that no chocolate-coated industrial cake on this entire list can claim. McKee Foods has kept this specific recipe remarkably stable since the 1960s, making it their oldest continuous product with the fewest corporate reformulations. Yes, it still contains corn syrup and soybean oil, so don't eat a whole box before bed, but it proves that an industrial manufacturer is perfectly capable of building a product on a foundation of real food when they choose to do so. It sits on the exact same Walmart, Target, and Kroger shelves at the exact same budget-friendly price point, costing just pennies per serving. If you want to step completely outside the world of giant corporate conglomerates and taste what regional freshness actually does to a baked good, you need to look for Tasty Cake, specifically their iconic butterscotch crimpets. Founded in Philadelphia back in 1914, this brand has maintained an incredibly loyal following across the mid-Atlantic for over a century, and for good reason. I bit into a butterscotch crimpet, and the icing tasted like actual, real butterscotch, because it's made with caramelized sugar and real butter, not the synthetic, petroleum-derived flavorings you get in mainstream packaged candy. The sponge cake base is denser, significantly moister, and richer than any Hostess product on the market, delivering the kind of mouthfeel that only comes from real fats instead of highly engineered vegetable oils designed to artificially hold water. While Tasty Cake is now owned by Flowers Foods, the massive corporation behind Nature's Own and Dave's Killer Bread. The ingredient lists for these regional classics remain significantly shorter and less chemically complex than their national competitors. More importantly, their regional distribution model means the product doesn't have to survive for months in a cross-country shipping warehouse. A shorter supply chain translates directly to a fresher product on the retail shelf. And a fresher product means the bakery needs fewer synthetic preservatives to stop it from going stale. A shorter shelf life sounds like a retail limitation, but for your digestive system, it is the ultimate green light. The downside, because it relies on regional freshness, availability can be spotty if you live far outside the East Coast. Though they are steadily expanding into supermarkets nationwide. But what if you want a snack cake that completely eliminates the chemical lab report altogether, uses 100% whole foods, and sits on the exact same mainstream grocery shelf for the exact same price? Look no further than Nature's Bakery Fig Bars. This is the absolute gold standard of mass market snack engineering. Every other snack cake we've looked at begins with highly processed sugars or heavily bleached white flour. Nature's Bakery starts with stone-ground whole wheat flour and real fig paste. I bit into one of these bars, and the fig filling provides a deep, natural sweetness and a hearty texture that high fructose corn syrup can never achieve. The whole wheat base has a distinct, rustic nuttiness that leaves you feeling genuinely satisfied. In fact, one single bar is dense enough that you feel completely full, whereas you'd easily need 2 or 3 Little Debbie cakes to get the same level of sensory satisfaction. Let's look at the hard data on the back. The first ingredient is stone-ground whole wheat flour, which completely retains the natural fiber and vital nutrients that industrial bleaching processes actively strip away. It uses real fig paste and natural cane sugar instead of cheap corn syrup, and it is baked with clean canola oil. There is absolutely no TBHQ, no artificial flavors, and 0 chemical colorings. The total ingredient count is roughly 10 to 12 simple items, compared to the staggering 37 ingredients found inside a standard Twinkie. You can buy these in massive, affordable bulk boxes at Costco or grab them at Walmart, Target, and Publix. They are priced directly in line with traditional junk food, shattering the corporate myth that real food ingredients have to be an expensive luxury. The only honest downside is that this is not a traditional, decadent junk food snack. There is no white cream filling, no glossy icing, and no chocolatey coating. If your kids are expecting a hyper-processed cosmic brownie, They might be disappointed at first, but for an honest, clean, and nutritious daily lunchbox snack, it is the single best choice you can make. Now that you know exactly how the industrial snack game is rigged, let's talk about how you can take total control the next time you walk down the sweet aisle at Walmart, Target, or Kroger. Here are 5 concrete rules you can use to protect your health and your wallet. Things you should absolutely screenshot right now. First, count the ingredient lines on the back of the package. If the list is longer than a standard recipe card, that product was designed for factory convenience and warehouse longevity, not for your kitchen or your stomach. Second, apply the missing letter test every single time you see a sweet treat. If the packaging proudly displays words like chocolatey, creamy, or fruit flavored instead of real chocolate, cream, or actual fruit, you are looking at a legal loophole warning you that real ingredients have been systematically swapped for cheap vegetable oils, industrial thickeners, and chemical dyes. Third, check the very first ingredient listed on the nutritional label. If sugar, high fructose corn syrup, or hydrogenated oils appear before actual grain flour or whole foods, you aren't buying a baked good. You are buying a solidified brick of industrial sweetener engineered to spike your insulin. Fourth, look for regional distribution markers or shorter shelf life expiration dates. A snack that expires in a couple of weeks rather than sitting fresh on a shelf for 3 months is a massive green light that the bakery didn't have to drench the recipe in synthetic preservatives like TBHQ or potassium sorbate. Fifth, never pay a premium for a mainstream brand name without checking the store brand alternative right next to it. If the ingredient lists match line for line, save your dollar because the corporate logo is the entire markup, and the product inside came out of the exact same industrial manufacturing vat. When you boil it all down, the entire multi-billion-dollar snack cake industry is built on a single, massive illusion. They are using brilliant visual design, emotional childhood nostalgia, and complex food chemistry to completely replace the one ingredient that no massive factory can ever afford to buy: time. Real baking takes 5 simple ingredients and about 20 minutes of your day, resulting in a rich, deeply satisfying treat that naturally expires in less than a week. Industrial production, on the other hand, takes 2 minutes, 37 separate chemical ingredients, and a global supply chain to build a product that can sit in a hot warehouse for 45 days without changing texture. The extra 32 ingredients on that label do not exist to make the cake taste better for you. They exist to buy the manufacturer manufacturing speed and shipping flexibility. Once you understand that every single chemical additive is just a corporate substitute for actual time and care, your entire relationship with the grocery store changes, and you stop being a passive victim of predatory marketing tactics. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this deep dive into the hidden world of the supermarket shelf. If this investigation opened your eyes or made you think twice about what's sitting in your pantry, please share this video with a friend or a family member, especially that one person you know who still packs a couple of prepackaged snack cakes in their kid's lunchbox every single morning without reading the fine print. I want to hear directly from you down in the comments section below. Which of these specific brands is sitting on your kitchen counter right now? And did you actually know about the missing letter test before watching this? If you're ready to see how deep the rabbit hole goes in other aisles of the grocery store, click right over here to watch our full investigative expose on what major corporations are hiding inside industrial sandwich bread. It takes 5 simple ingredients and 20 minutes to bake a real brownie, and the other 32 only showed up when the factory completely replaced the kitchen. Stay smart, read your labels, and I will see you in the next video.